Welcome to Beyond the Buzzer, where real hoop stories get the spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Wethers, former Division I athlete and overseas pro. Each week I sit down with players, coaches, and grinders who lived the game but didn't always reach the dream. From college standouts to overseas warriors, this is where we unpack the truth. Behind the journey, the highs, the lows, the heartbreak, and life after the final buzzer.
He's on his way, he's about to get paid, he's on his way to Hollywood. He's on his way, he's about to get paid, he's on his way to Hollywood. Show him the way, he's about to get paid.
Welcome to KF and JF Podcast. This is Beyond the Buzzer. I'm your host, Brian Wethers. Thank you for coming back. Today we have a very special guest, very close friend of mine, but before we get into that, let's check out some highlights.
Sometimes I make mistakes in my life, but I'm trying so hard to make it right. Even though sometimes I make mistakes in my life, life goes on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah, hey, I got wisdom from my papa. He ain't have a lot of money.
Okay, today's guest is my man, Abrams. Okay, an absolute juggernaut of a basketball player. My first, what the kids say today, ops. This is the first dude I could not stand that I learned to respect. You know how you see somebody and you think like they're, just as good as you, compete just as hard as you. But when you're a kid, you don't respect it right away. You're just like, ugh. So I want to talk to my man, Abrams. Thank you to the show. I just want to ask you about your journey. When did the dream, we all have that dream of going to the NBA. What was it like growing up for you, and when did basketball start to become your thing?
I was a youngster on the playground doing everything, man. I was playing tetherball,
Yes.
kickball, I was playing baseball, football, whatever it was. I would say probably around 5th grade, that's when I was finally able to play organized basketball. Because before that, everything was on the playground.
Yeah.
That's how I came up. Pops, he was the type of guy that he always had, he called them his jumpers, his shoes. He had his shoes in his car, he had his tennis racket, and he had his basketball.
Yeah.
So wherever it was a court or a playground, that's basically where I got my love for the game, just playing with my dad, going out, watching pickup, not being able to play, being that kid on the sideline, shooting in between while the action is going on down there. I'm shooting on the opposite side. This is around 10, 11 years old. And then right around the age of like 12, 13, that's when I was able to get a real taste of it, where Pop started, putting me on, so to speak. You playing with grown men. Yeah. So don't turn the ball over. Yeah. When you get an open shot, take it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Outside of that, don't make any mistakes. Yeah. So, coming up like that, I think really propelled me into, just having that authentic, I see it on the wall right here, that authentic love for the game, just being out on the playground playing. So around like 5th, 6th grade.
I can relate to that because I remember my dad taking us to, we used to live in Carson, California, so we would go to Dominguez Hills, and he would run the track. He was a big-time runner, and he would have us watch him do that, but he would always bring, different things for us to do, like the frisbee, the football, the baseball, and just that, growing up with brothers, that created that kind of competitiveness.
Right. Okay,
so you were an ultra competitor, okay? Because I can remember in high school just how we competed against each other, but watching you compete always motivated me to I got to make sure I'm on my game because this dude's he's right there, he on my back, right? So how do you attribute your work ethic? Who would you say pushed that? I know a lot of people say they were born with it, but was there somebody or, an experience you had that made you want to just work harder than everybody else?
Honestly, I think it was a fear of failure.
That's right, yeah.
I wasn't looking at just the kids in San Diego, and I hope I'm not getting too far ahead in what we're talking about, but I was looking at a national level and a regional level.
Yeah.
So that's where, when me and you crossed paths, it was instant, we clashed because we was competitors.
Yeah.
And back then we were trolling. Yeah. We didn't have social media.
Yeah.
the internet just got popping. You got Hoop Scoops, you got magazines, Athlon. I brought the Athlon magazine in.
Nice, yeah.
But just when I match up with Brian Wethers, I want to make sure I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm not really locked in on, because it's levels to it. You know, you want to be the best player locally, then you want to be the best player in your city, and then once you feel like you get to that point, now you're starting to look at, okay, what's Brian doing up in Marietta?
Yeah.
What's Jason Williams out in New Jersey doing?
Yeah.
What's Donnell Harvey in Arizona? You know, that's how we came up. So it was just wanting to be the best. And when I showed up to all of these events that we played at, you know, against each other, we played together. Just being prepared and being ready for those moments.
Yeah, and it really is like when we were growing up, it was the list. Right now, everybody can go see everybody's social media and kind of see what they're doing.
And make it look
good. But it was the unknown factor, I think, that kind of drove us, because all you saw was the ranking system.
Right.
And if you weren't number one, like, you were just, well, what else? What I got to do?
Right.
Right. So you would go to these camps and we would see that, and then we would push, right, you know, to kind of be better than whoever we were playing against on that given day. So kind of talk to me about, because you played with in a really good high school. You went to Rancho Buena Vista High School. You're now the head coach there. And you played with Jamal Mosley, who is now an NBA coach. How was that like, kind of playing with him? Because I believe he was a senior your freshman year. Were you guys 1 year, 2 year?
He was a senior my sophomore year.
Sophomore year, okay.
Yeah.
So how was that, and you know, and having somebody like that to kind of push you? Was he kind of a motivator for you? You know what I mean? When you were going there?
He definitely was. And there was a strong tradition at our high school, even before Jamal. It was Daryl Parker, who he is actually the uncle of Jabari Parker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So he's a Chicago guy. He's currently, I think he's a homicide detective in Chicago now.
Wow.
But he was an all-time leading scorer at RBV for a long time until this past season. So the young fella passed him up.
Oh, wow.
C.J. Aldridge. He passed him up as the all-time leading scorer, but that record has stood for 30 years, close to.
Wow.
And so around the time Jamal and I were coming up, he was still on his basketball journey. So he started out at UC Santa Barbara, and then he came back home, went to Maricosta, and finished up at Oregon. And so he was getting tryouts and stuff with the NBA. I think he might have did a couple 10-day contracts. I know he played overseas. But he would come home in the summer, and he kind of groomed us as far as the work ethic and how you separate yourself from everybody else. Like, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, we up. You know, we're going to go work out for a couple hours, and he might call us later on in the evening to go get back in the gym.
Nice.
And our high school coach, you know, he was a big mentor for all of us. So, you know, I think Daryl kind of set the standard. And then Jamal just being, he's probably one of the most incredible leaders I've ever been around.
Yeah.
You know, on game day, his senior year, you know, your senior year, if you take care of business early on, you can kind of coast a little bit. So I think he had a teacher's aid class or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, he would go class to class and hand out the goals for the game, whether it was taking charges, you know, being vocal defensively, you know, running in transition, you know, stuff like that. As a 17 or 18-year-old kid.
That's impressive. Yeah, you don't see that.
Yeah, you don't see that very often. So just being around that, you know, kind of propelled us to have the success that we had even after he was gone. And that's a legacy in the culture that I'm still trying to instill and keep it moving to this day.
So talk to me about, like, work ethic. That's a huge thing. You know, I know how we grew up. With these kids today, like, what difference do you see versus, like, we live in the social media era, right? We didn't have all that. So again, we were preparing for, like, what we didn't know. What are some of the differences you see versus, like, when we were growing up in, you know, the early 90s and versus how these kids are training and working today?
Work ethic, the key word, I think that's a skill set.
Yeah.
Playing hard, effort, energy.
It's a skill set.
As a coach, you want to say those are non-negotiables, but everybody don't have that.
Yeah.
But work ethic is definitely a skill set, and that's what's going to separate you, just being different.
Yeah, I agree.
And I know how you came up. And again, like, us competing against each other as 14, 15, here we are, 40-some years old. But you kept me motivated as far as if I'm not working on my game,
Like I know he is.
I know he is.
And vice versa.
And we didn't, and to your point, we really didn't have trainers.
No.
You know, you're rolling the ball out, you're catching, you're squaring up, you're playing against nutso. Getting in the gym, getting the keys from your coach, going outside, wherever you can get some work in. But I think there's advantages to having trainers and stuff like that now, because the skill set of these kids is like stuff that they're doing right now. We didn't have that in our package.
Yeah.
And so the game is evolving. So I think there's pros and cons to both sides. I'll give you an example. So I got a court in my backyard. I got 2 young sons that play, and I train them, obviously. But what I'm big on is when you get home from school, you're going to spend 3 hours on the game, or you're going to go make 200 or 300 jump shots on your own without me rebounding for you, without me telling you what to, because that has to be a part of the process.
Yeah, just exploring your own.
Everything can't be so structured.
Yeah.
That's why I like to get them outside. I like to have them running on the concrete, playing in the backyard versus being in the gym with trainers and stuff all the time. Like, I think there's got to be a balance there.
No, that's a fair assessment. And I think it was Gary Vee. I just was watching a podcast about that, talking about when you do something for so long, right? Your body you get wear and tear on the body, and you got to change up the routine because these kids are playing so much basketball, but yet you see so many injuries now, right? It's because it's all the repetitive motion. So I like that you're changing it up for your kids. That's great. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about when the dreams started to get real for you in terms of like college, recruiting. So you're, sophomore year, junior year, crazy athlete, you're doing well, going to all these camps. When was kind of that first experience of like a college reaching out to you, and when did it become like, I can do this, right?
Summer going into my sophomore year, that was a big jump for me. So I saw you playing over the rim with a mustache, 6'3", 6'2", at 14, 15 years old.
And I was 14, 15.
Yeah,
I'm not,
damn near the same size as you are now. And again, just being motivated by my peers. So, I'm going to the playground. I'm trying to play over the rim. And that transition from 9th through 10th grade, I went from dunking the basketball with one hand to getting up dunking with 2 hands to just trying stuff. Now I'm dunking backwards. Now I'm 360 and I'm doing all of that. And that's kind of what propelled me as far as, from that athletic perspective, and trying to figure out who I was as a basketball player. And it was raw, uncut, playing above the rim, but being able to mix it up and, just being multifaceted, being able to knock down a set shot, a catch and shoot shot, or being able to shot fake or jab step, putting it on the ground once or twice and knocking the shot down.
Right on. I love all that. We got to pause and take a break, where we're going to come back and dive into your college career and kind of what that was like for you. So we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to the show again. We thank you guys for tuning in. Got a lot to dive into. So Aaron, I want to talk about that first college experience, right? You recruited, you signed the scholarship on the dotted line. it was the University of Wyoming. Talk about that and that experience of like, I made it. I'm at D1 and, you know, I'm on my way. What did that feel like for you?
Oh man, that's a very broad question.
Yeah.
It was a lot of emotions in that decision. And, you know, just reflecting back, at the time, I felt like it was a good fit. But, you know, things happen along the way. Very excited, you know, going into that situation because of the pace of basketball that they played at the time. Steve McClain was the head coach, and it was an up and down system. You know, so that fit my game because that, you know, that was my style, getting up and down, getting easy baskets. You know, we talk about like Jordan, how he said getting 25, 26 points is so easy.
Yeah.
Because it's only a couple free throws, a layup or two,
Yeah.
and then maybe hitting a couple jump shots per quarter.
Yeah.
And they're playing a 48-minute game. So, you know, no matter what level it is, high school, college, I always had the same approach. And, you know, them scoring 90, 92 points per game, you know, fit my style. But at the time, my old lady, who was my girlfriend, who was now my wife, who I'm still with, you know, we got pregnant. And so going into that situation, there was kind of a lot of emotions involved as far as trying to maintain a relationship, being away from my wife and her being pregnant. And then my son, my oldest son, who's 25 now, he was born in April of that year. But just going through all of that at the time was kind of a lot for a young West Coast kid,
Absolutely.
18 years old, about to have a baby, away from home, away from my comfort zone. So there was a lot of things that, you know, went into that situation that, you know, hindsight is always 20/20. Sometimes I look back and say, you know, I probably should have stuck it out because I ended up transferring after that year. But at the time, for me, you know, it just wasn't a good fit because I was dealing with stuff off the court, and then it affected me on the court. So for me, the best thing to do was to go back home. You know, and it being a grown man looking at it now, like if I was to be able to tell my 18-year-old self, give him a piece of advice, I would tell him, nah, you stay there, you get your ass in the gym, you do what needs to be done, and you figure it out.
Yeah.
But, you know, for me at that time, you know, that wasn't an option, and I didn't have a whole lot of people in my corner to be able to give me that sound piece of advice that I needed. So I ran back to what was comfortable. You know, in the end, you know, obviously it all worked out for me. But at that time, you know, it was tough. And it's funny because you look back on it, and that was kind of a really, that was probably those years from 99 to 2001, 2002 were probably the toughest 2 or 3 years of my basketball career in my entire life. Now that I look back on it. And at that time, wasn't nobody talking about no mental health or being depressed and stuff like that.
Get through it.
But basketball was my life. And, you know, looking back on it, not having the success, coming in there as a CIF Player of the Year, you know, with all of these expectations and not being able to live up to those expectations, and then dealing with, you know, the domestic side of things, having a baby on the way and things like that, it really impacted, you know, my situation coming into the entire process. So I had to make adjustments.
Yeah, man. That's a huge pivot. I mean, I remember I had my daughter when I was 30, and I still felt like, oh, my scholarship is ruined. Like, it's just a reality you kind of settle into that's like, whoa. So I can only imagine, you know, being 18 on the way, and then, you know, having to do grown folks business. Right. So I mean, I commend you on that because you decided I got to take care of my family. But I can understand as a hooper, you know, where those emotions probably took you, you know. So like I'll never know, right? Because that didn't happen at that time. But, you know, you watching your career, watching you hoop, you would have never known, right?
the struggles you might have went through. So I definitely commend you on that. And that's just, that's just part of growing up.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, man, for sure. So this is a great story you tell your kids, and these kids watching right now. It's a great story to hear. 18. If I go back and tell them, I'd be like, wear a condom, right?
Right.
But in hindsight, it was blessed, right? That's just your own God's time. So that's kind of what happened. So, talk about now, because you went from Wyoming to the University of Hawaii. How was that time? And was there any layover, or did you go straight there? So how was that?
So there was some transition. Yeah. So after I left Wyoming, initially I went to LA City.
Okay.
Coach Mike Miller was over there. Shout out Jimmy Miggins. Jimmy Miggins was my roommate. You remember Miggins?
Yes, I do remember.
He went to Pepperdine. I was there for 2 or 3 months, and again, it was just tough because I was in LA. Now, if I had FaceTime and phones and all the access that everybody has right now, it would have been a different situation.
Sure.
But I'm staying in the studio with another 6'8" brother. You know what I'm saying? He on the couch, I got a bed over here, vice versa.
Yeah.
And I got to walk around the corner to get on the payphone to see if my old lady's okay, how's the baby doing, things like that. So I made a decision to step away from basketball. So after I left Wyoming, went to LA City up until November. And again, hindsight's always 20/20. That's another situation I probably could have pushed through. But at the same time, once you start bringing family into the situation, your choices and your decisions start to lean towards that direction. So whatever's best for my family, that's what I was doing at the time. Yeah. So came home, took the year off, actually got a job, wasn't even playing basketball. So that was technically my redshirt year.
Yes.
Worked UPS.
Okay.
I was working 4 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Yeah.
And I'm 4 or 5 months in, and I'll never forget, I'm walking through the factory at UPS, and again, this is back in the day, so everybody read the paper. We read the paper.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Next day after the game, we want to see who's doing what, because we can't go on IG and see. We got to go look at the paper.
Yeah.
So dude's like Abrams, and he's another dude working at UPS, older dude at the time. He's like, "What are you doing here?" Because he reads the paper every day, and he'd been at UPS for a long time. He's like, "Just a year or two ago, you were CIF Player of the Year. Why are you back home working?" Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Yeah. So talking to him, he was kind of like a mentor. He was like, "Man, you need to go back and play." So I went to Palomar, and from Palomar, I transitioned to Hawaii Pacific. And then when I got to Hawaii Pacific, I kind of started settling in a little bit. I was 22, 23, a little bit more mature. And my mentality was, I knew how good I was, competing with the guys that we competed against all through high school. I knew how good I was. So being in that situation, I was just like, you need to come in here and dominate and kind of reinvent yourself. And that's what I did. I averaged like 15 my junior year. And then my senior year, I was top 10 in D2 in scoring, averaged about 23, 22. And then that's how I was able to get an opportunity to go play overseas.
Nice. So talk about that, because overseas, I love hearing everyone's experience about overseas, since everybody's got a little different experience, okay, but very similar to a degree. So talk about like where you traveled to. Where was your first stop? How was that like? Because now not only like it's different when you move it into the States.
Yeah.
Once you get on that plane and cross that water, right, and now you're exposed to a whole different type of culture, a whole different type of basketball. What was that reality like when that kind of hit?
Well, you are bringing back memories right now. My first contract was right outside of Istanbul, Turkey.
Ooh.
Yes. And at this time, it is 2004. Okay. So 9/11.
Just, not far removed.
Not far removed. Yeah. So the way that we travel and everything, and it's a crazy story. So now I got baby number 2 on the way. So I graduate from Hawaii Pacific, and I actually had an opportunity to be the director of ops. Okay. The coach told me, you could stay back and, we'll give you this job as director of ops, and you can kind of earn your keep and get into coaching. I never wanted to coach.
Yeah.
I'm sure I don't know if you had aspirations to coach.
I did,
Right, because we're players.
Yes, exactly.
I thought I knew everything when I played.
Yeah.
Now that I'm coaching, and I look back, I didn't know nothing.
Yeah, I know. And that's funny you say that, because I had zero aspirations to coach. Like I thought my projection was NBA, and I was going to retire and then relax, right? But when that didn't happen, I knew I wanted to stay attached to the game.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know in what arena I wanted to do that in.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be training, coaching. So my first job I took, it was like a soft entry.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Calvary Marietta, and I wanted to see if I had the patience to do it, because I heard Michael Jordan talk. So I'm not comparing myself to myself.
Right.
Hearing him talk about his work ethic and his expectations, and people not doing that or living up to it, would frustrate him. And I felt like I would probably be the same, because if I don't see guys working as hard as I worked, wanted to get in the gym and work another game, it would be frustrating to me.
Yeah.
But it's become, quite the opposite. It's therapeutic. It's able to pour into the game, and you can see right away, the kids that want it. And you see a little bit of yourself in each kid, that comes in and brings it.
Yeah.
And it's just, a whole new avenue of basketball that you never tapped into. But that's funny you say that.
Mm-hmm.
So talk about a little bit
the reality of that dream of not playing in the NBA hitting. You know what I mean? Because for me, it was devastating, right? When I got hurt and injured, and you trying to come back to it. What was that like for you? Having we put so much into this game, right? We played against the players we played. Some of them go to the NBA, and we know we were better than a lot of them, coming up. How did that reality hit? You know what I mean? And how did you adjust to that?
Let me get back to that, because I already knew me and you on this podcast. We could be here for 2 or 3 hours talking all night.
Serious.
So I asked you a question. You give me a great answer. That question you just asked me was outstanding, and I'm going to get to that. But the initial question that you asked me was my transition from Hawaii Pacific going to overseas.
Correct.
So my daughter was 10 days old when I left. So I got the offer, and I don't know, I didn't go to Cal Berkeley. So I came out of a D2.
Yeah.
So your first contract, you might have had a couple more zeros than me.
I did not. Okay, I did not.
So my first contract, I looked at it,
Yeah.
and I thought about life and the way it is. Like, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
I got a 10-day-old
Yeah.
baby girl here,
Yeah.
and I still got my son.
Yeah.
So now I'm 2 kids deep.
Yeah.
I'm 24 years old,
Yeah.
and I have the opportunity to go either coach or go play. What are you going to decide to do? BW.
Yeah.
B-Dub.
Yeah.
I'm going to hoop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went to go play, and I left all of that behind.
Yeah.
And basically for peanuts, to prove myself. So I gambled on myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that was my first experience. Turkey, jumping on that plane. So I went, after she was born, I went from Hawaii to Seattle. That's 5 hours.
Yeah.
From Seattle to New York, that's another 5 hours.
Yeah.
And then when I get to New York, I go 10 hours from New York to Istanbul.
Man. Not to mention the layover. Right.
And there's layovers in between, and I'm the only person of color that's not Muslim on that plane. And this is 2004. And we get there, it's a crazy story. Get on a car drives onto a boat, drives across the water. The car's still on the boat though.
Yeah.
Drives across the water. This is overseas stuff.
Yeah.
Because, people sometimes they glamorize, I'll play overseas.
Yeah.
It could be a grind playing overseas.
100%.
So we drive onto a boat, in the car, get off, it's like an hour and a half, then drive another 3 hours, get to the gym, walk into the gym. It's so cold I could see my breath. They didn't even tell me I had to play. So I just flew all the way from Hawaii to Istanbul, Turkey. Same day I land, all that traveling, you got to play.
When I talk about we live the same life, like that was my exact experience going to China. Okay? I flew from LA to Beijing, get off the plane, we go 2 hours. I gotta go, they put me in a hotel room for the night for 2 hours because we gotta go catch the next flight. So
you
we
ain't
go
got
to
time
the
to sleep.
airport. No. So I'm thinking about my whole life, right? So you get there, it's another 2 hour flight. I get picked up. We get on this a van. We drive 2 hours on this van to a bus station. On the bus, for 6 hours. I don't know which stop is which. But by the time we get to this, farmland, we arrive. There's nobody there to pick me up. So I'm in the middle of nowhere with, I traveled big at the time. I wasn't used to overseas, so I had like 4 bags of luggage.
Yep.
And I'm just looking.
Got your whole life with you.
Whole life with me, okay? You narrowed it down to about 1 suitcase once you understand the grind.
Yep.
But I get there about 30 minutes later. I'm looking, within that time, I eventually got picked up, but I'm waiting for somebody to get me. And all of a sudden, the people who were working the bus station were like, hey, you need to watch out for the thieves, right? That's what I kind of gathered from what they were saying. So now I'm looking around, everybody's looking at me. I got my big old cow jacket on, all these suitcases, so I just make myself big, like if it's going down, it's going down.
Right.
So eventually I get picked up. We probably drive another 30 minutes to the hotel. The team is waiting for me on a bus. Okay, I have to go upstairs after all that. Okay, we're talking about 25 hours, close to 30 hours of just traveling, moving. They want me to go right upstairs, change, to get ready for practice. Okay, and I remember going hard for 30 minutes and looking at the coach like, done. Right, I dunked the ball as much as I could, ran as hard as I could, and then I got mad. Like I'm supposed to be eating, sleeping, recovering, and they had me playing. So I can totally understand that story, man.
And you're one of what, 2 Americans?
Two
maybe
Americans,
one?
Yeah. I had shout out to Eddie Alisma, if you ever tune into this. He was my teammate. He played at Georgia Tech with Stephon Marbury. He was the veteran at the time. So I'm coming in 22 years old. He's 29. And he's on the bus right when I get on the bus, and he's just laughing like, welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome to overseas.
Yeah, you really want to do this?
Yeah, do you really want to do this? So, but he was a great kind of mentor for me getting into that, right?
Yeah.
So I had to kind of make that adjustment, right? So it was cool. So,
No doubt.
But back to you. So you are now overseas. Okay, talk about when that stopped and when you realized, like, all right, this is enough. I need to just go ahead and get back and start my life. And then what was that transition out of basketball like? Because that's probably the hardest pivot of realizing that it's done. Right?
Man, I could write a book on that.
Yes.
That's a great question. That's a great question. I'm going to tell you, so I was playing in Germany, and now we're on baby number 3.
Man.
I got 5 kids.
Golly.
We're on baby number 3 now. And now we got Skype. This is 06, 07.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, and I don't want to drift, but
No, go ahead.
you get into your prime when you about 27, 28.
Yeah.
26 to 28, that's when you're in your prime. So I'm in my prime. And I was never able to secure like those big contracts to where I could bring the whole family over, put them in school.
Do all that, yeah.
It was always, nah, you can come over, we'll get you the flat, we'll give you a car, but kids and the wives got to stay home. So that's kind of when I started to realize I was 27 years old. I'm on Skype talking to my wife, and I see baby number 3 in the background in the crib standing up. She's like 9 months, and I thought it was my oldest daughter, the one who I had left when I got my first deal in Turkey. And I was like, that's when I started to think about it. I'm like, man, I don't know how much more of this I can do. 27, 28 at the time. Never worked a real job. Everything's been basketball.
100%, I remember that.
Outside of when I, took my break when I was in college and I did the UPS gig. But so Mark Miramura, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Shout out Mark. He was my agent. And after that year in Germany, he got me a deal. It was in like Belarus, Belarusia, something like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm 27, 28 years old, and it was a good contract. It would probably have been my best contract yet. It was like almost like 7-8 euros a month.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, to play basketball. But I just made a decision. I came at a crossroads from knowing, like,
I miss my kids.
The dream, like, the grind, because from the time we're 11 years old all the way to you're 27, 28, you know what you're doing in the fall, you know what you're doing in the winter, you know what you're doing in the spring, you know what you're doing in the summer, and it just becomes, you know what I mean? Like, just the grind, the process, it becomes repetitive. And at that point, I was like, okay, now it's time to move on.
And be a family man.
Be a family man and figure out what I got to do. What's best for the family. So.
Man, like you said, we could talk for hours on end, but I'd have one more question before we kind of wrap this up, man. What message would you have for the youth or anybody watching the show that's coming up, has your same dream, right? Experience all that you experienced. What's one thing that you would like people to know about either you or kind of like that whole experience that you would give advice to if you could do it all over?
Kind of circling back, I think work ethic is a skill, and not just in basketball, but in life. You just got to continue to grind. Every single day, when those feet touch the ground, it's go time.
Yeah.
And that's got to be the mindset. There's going to be trials and tribulations and, hurdles that you have to cross. But just being consistent and sticking to the grind. In order to be different, you got to act different. So that's kind of what I'm teaching my young gunners. My sons and all the kids in the community that I'm able to impact and coach, whether it's through club, whether it's through high school ball, is if you want to be different, you got to act different.
Yeah.
Whether that's getting up before school, grinding, getting a couple shots up, hitting the concrete, just staying consistent, staying active, and, just continue to grind.
Man, I appreciate you. Well, man, thank you for coming out and being on the show. This has been
sir.
a trip down memory lane
Yes,
for both
sir.
of us, for sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay, grown to love you when I could not stand you
Absolutely.
as a hooper.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you, and I know our fans will as well. So I want to thank you guys for coming in and tuning in to our show. We appreciate it. Please leave a comment or two. Let us know what you're thinking, and if any questions you might have, and also hit that like button if you could. That definitely helps out the show. We thank you for coming out, and have a great day.
He's on his way, he's about to get paid. He's on his way to Hollywood.